media today is going through this huge change. People are actually appalled by the latest revelation that Murdoch's press allegedly had hacked into Millie Dialer's voicemail. And this is a child's mobile telephone. It impeded, we assume, the investigation by the police. And it's an outrageous abuse of privilege working in the media. It's also placing into questions whether we have true freedom of speech. If a media agency is that powerful, and bear in mind it's foreign owned, it's foreign in so much as it's owned by Americans. It's not I'm anti-American by any means, but I do believe that it's far healthier for a country to have its press and media owned by British people. To date, our company has managed to retain all of our investment from British investors. And as such, we're not biased stupidly towards British interests, British companies and British personalities, but we don't spin things to be spiteful, negative or sensationalist. That's actually detrimental to Britain, particularly in a time of obvious crisis that we're facing at the moment. So that's what we're trying to do.
So thinking about the power of these massive media organisations, I mean, what's the take on Fox News with the way that they are so biased in the States?
Well, I don't think it's a healthy thing. I think that there's nothing wrong with owning companies for business gain and to make profit. That's what business is all about. But when it's actually detrimental to freedom of speech, something's gone wrong. And very often an organisation takes on a life of itself. We're a very small organisation. It's a very small company comparatively to other big newspaper companies. But when organisations become very, very big, it is a beast in its own right. And it's easy to say, oh, Rupert Murdoch this, Rupert Murdoch that. I should imagine that he actually is not hands-on, fully aware of what's going on. It would actually be impossible to be that aware. It's a massive organisation, News Corporation. And he's an old man, so in the chain of command going up the ranks, there are people who want and have a vested interest in controlling News Corporation. And when you've got the power to actually create what I consider to be a private surveillance organisation with the powers that are actually more potent than the police have to actually bug people's phones, hack people's email, something is wrong. So I think it is a period of radical change within the media. I've also in the past worked for tabloid newspapers. So part of it is actually realising that I, unwittingly to a degree, was involved with working with what I now see as to be quite a negative. And with what's happened today, I'm very distressed actually by what has happened. I think if you're a parent and you, particularly that family that Millie Dialer belonged to, had discovered that these messages had been deleted and then they might have thought their daughter was still alive. It's an appalling thing. It's an appallingly abusive thing. It happened, I believe, in 2002, which is a long time ago for it to actually reach daylight. And I hope that this is the herald of a really true change within media in Britain.
When you think about the traditional view of the journalists that's campaigning, the Woodward and Bernsteins and that are campaigning and digging up the dirt rather than perverting the noble ideals behind journalism.
Well, I adhere to what they are doing is the right thing. But there's nothing wrong with investigative journalism. It would be an even more censored state if we didn't have investigative journalists actually unearthing valid stories. That's a very good point, because the Watergate scandal was brought to light by journalists. It's when it's a story that really is not in the public interest. It's usually something that's sleazy, sensationalist, that really has no business in the public domain. No, I'm entirely in favour, as I say, it's finding the truth and relaying it as accurately as possible to the reader, the citizen and the viewer. That's what we are in this business for, being journalists, whether we're journalists, photographers, whatever.